I just don't think this is the big one. I think, we added $2 trillion in debt just last night. $2 trillion. To put that into perspective, if I take every single dollar and pound and yak from every country on earth, every bit of currency, and I take it all, that's only about $50 trillion. We're halfway to all of the money in the world in debt. That is going to cost us one of these days, very soon. I just don't think it's today. Welcome to Bill O'Reilly from BillO'Reilly.com. Hello, Bill. How are you?
Lou Dobbs, how you doing today?
Very good. Any comment on this, Bill?
Wow. I mean, well, first of all, you told me to relax, so I am very relaxed.
All right, good.
I'm doing a little yoga here as I'm talking.
Are you wearing
to
the
you.
yoga? Are you wearing the yoga outfit?
No, I don't have the yoga serape. I'm not.
You're just in your suit.
Yeah, I'm in my suit. That's how did you know that, Beck?
Well, I wanted to know. I mean, we do get mail. Do you sleep in your suit? Because I think those.
No, I don't. I have jammies that look like
a
suit.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right.
The tie pasted right on them.
Sure. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, any comment on that, Bill? Before we move on.
I think, look, the only comment, because the stock market is gambling. I mean, it is.
Yes.
Let's face it. Let's be honest. And I say in my tip of the day, which I give every day on my tweet, Beck,
yes,
at Bill O'Reilly.
May I guess? May I guess what it was?
Go ahead.
If you can afford it, tip 20% in restaurants. Used to be 15, but
last night, Beck.
Come on, brother.
Flattering. How flattering.
Yeah.
Anyway, I said that the older you get, the less stock you should have or hold. So I'm down in my portfolio 25% in stock. Because it's not worth the risk when you can get, bonds that will pay you, not spectacular returns, but steady, and they're not going to go out of business. You're right. The debt is going to come back to haunt us at some point. So you don't want to be the Vegas person when you're 70 years old. I mean, that's insane. So conservative investing is my advice to Americans over the age of 50. If you're a kid and you got a good job, you can go into the mutual funds and all that because it probably will pay off for you.
Let me ask you this, Bill. Are you concerned at all? One of the things they're not talking about this is we had another auction of bonds, which means we were out selling the debt of the government, trying to raise money. And it was, and the yield went through the roof because demand was very low. Everybody's like, I don't think I'm going to bid on those. I'm not interested.
Right. So you got to pay more interest.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing for investors, certainly.
Yeah, but a bad thing for the United States of America.
Yeah, but look, you've got to look at it this way. It might be a bad thing for the USA in February, but in May, the whole picture could be turned around. So I think that we're the most stable economy on the face of the earth. Maybe Switzerland would outflank us there, but it's certainly one of the top three. And the Chinese, for example, I don't invest in the China stock market. I mean, that's crazy. And those people over there, the Chinese who have money, they're punting in here. And I don't see that changing. I mean, are you going to go to the euro? Are you going to go into Angela Merkel territory? Are you going to give your money to Russians? No. So I think that the United States will stay as the place where worldwide investment is mostly made. I could be wrong, but I think the facts are on my side.
All right, so let's shift gears to what happened in the Senate yesterday. The continuing resolutions, that's not a budget process. And really, we are in a dictatorship. We've been worried about, Obama being a dictator or Trump being a dictator. No, the real dictatorship here is Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell saying, here's the budget. Everybody, every one of the people's representatives, you either vote for all of it or you are responsible for shutting the government down. That's not a budget process.
I don't even cover this on BillO'Reilly.com. I don't even cover it because it's such a charade, and the conclusion is foregone, Beck. You're absolutely right. These pinheads on Capitol Hill, they don't care about the debt, and they just want to keep the circus on the road. And so they're going to pass these spending bills Trump's big thing is the military, so he's pumping more billions of dollars there. And that's not going to change until there's a catastrophe. And there will be, but I think that catastrophe is down the road a piece.
Let me move to the FBI and the text. I'm really angry about it, Beck. Two things I want to talk to you today about. Okay.
All right, the border wall and the FBI. Go.
You said you wanted to talk about, so I should say,
no, I know, but
hey, Bill,
Bill,
let's talk about the two things, the border wall, but let's start with the FBI. Go.
All right, the FBI. Look, it's clear there are 4 people that may be indicted. All right, James Comey, the former head, his deputy.
Can you explain?
Andrew McCabe,
Can you explain from your point of view when you name these guys? Explain for your point of view what you think they're going to be indicted for, what they did.
Okay, so Comey went into a federal judge, who's on the FISA court, which is the court that issues warrants for tapping to protect all Americans from terrorism. Yeah. That's why the court exists. Okay?
Yep.
From foreign threats.
Right.
And Comey went in and he put his name on documents that said, you got to give us his warrant so we can spy on Carter Page, who's associated with the Trump campaign, because Carter Page is a stooge for Putin. So we need to follow him around. We need to see all his internet stuff and listen to him on the phone. Okay, the judge says, well, give me some evidence. And, here's the dossier that we somehow have acquired, the FBI. Dossier's phony. Everybody knows it's phony. Comey knew it was phony. Comey submitted a phony dossier to the judge to get the tap. It's a crime.
Okay, next.
What's your next question?
Well, who else is going to be indicted and why?
Well, McCabe did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Comey and McCabe.
Okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm. So
those two guys went to a federal judge under false pretenses to get a tap on an American citizen. I like to dumb it down, keep it simple, so even I can understand it.
Right.
All right. The other two are Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. Now, Peter Strzok was the lead investigator on the Hillary Clinton email thing, and then Mueller, Robert Mueller, special counsel, hired him to look into the Russian collusion thing. All right, his girlfriend in the FBI was Lisa Page. Both were married. They're having a little thing going on. All right, 50,000 texts between the two of them. In the body of the texts are all kinds of stuff, attacking Donald Trump and a lot of other people. All right, and then there are little furtive things like POTUS, President of the United States, Barack Obama at the time. He wants to be apprised of everything we're doing, even though Barack Obama said he was staying completely out of it. Okay, so all of that. But the big thing about Strzok and Page is that from their correspondence, it looks like they weren't conducting, Strzok was not conducting an honest investigation, at least into the Hillary Clinton email thing. And then we find out that McCabe knew that Anthony Weiner's computer contained classified information that came from Hillary Clinton a month before he told Congress, 4 weeks. And he told Congress just before the election took place, a couple of days before. If he had said that a month before, Hillary Clinton would have been damaged almost. She might have even had to leave the race. That's how serious that was. So it looks like, circumstantial but certainly worth investigating, that McCabe held back that information for a month to help Hillary Clinton.
All right. When we come back, I want to talk to you about a few of these things and delve a little bit deeper into them in just a minute with Bill O'Reilly from BillO'Reilly.com.
Glenn Beck.
We're with Bill O'Reilly from BillO'Reilly.com. His latest book is Killing England, and it's available everywhere.
Bill, I have a fundamental question about the FBI thing, and I can't get past it. We know there are a lot of things that were shady with some of these agents, some of the people that did not like Donald Trump. And you're right, completely worth investigating, and we should look into it. But it seems like the way that at least the conservative media or the Trump defending media is talking about this issue, it's as if the FBI had it out for Trump from the beginning. They wanted him to be, they did not want him to be president, and they don't want him to be president now, and they're doing everything they can in this sort of deep state thing to undermine his presidency. I understand the premise. I understand that storyline. But when you're designing a plan to take down Donald Trump at all costs, shouldn't you leave out the part where you release a letter saying his opponent is under FBI investigation 10 days before the election? It just does not work for me, because every one of these things, and it all comes down to the fact that without that letter, likely Donald Trump would not be president.
I think Mueller handed the election to Donald Trump.
Comey. He had to.
Yeah. Well,
what you guys are missing is what we just talked about before the break. Comey had to, because he had the information about Weiner's computer 4 weeks before that, and they kept it quiet as long as they could. But Comey's saying to himself, if I don't put this out before the election, and then it's found that we had it, I'm going to get indicted on the spot. So he had to.
So, but he could have done it.
They delayed as long as they could.
Right, but
then they came forward.
But the case is, everybody else didn't do. I mean, they were covering for her. They were delaying. They've covered all of this evidence, and yet on this one thing, Comey said, "I have to release this."
Yeah, because it was so big. When you have,
but it turned out to be nothing.
I know it did, but it was Anthony Weiner. Okay, that if it had been anybody else, maybe they could have gotten away with it, but not somebody that high profile. So they had to CYA, and these guys, look, they're professional CYA people, and they're not going to put themselves at personal risk. So they basically timed it. They said, okay, we'll delay it as much as we can, and then we'll put it out, and then we'll say, hey, there was nothing there. So nobody can come and say we tried to boot the election. I'm not saying that I'm convicting James Comey of anything. I'm saying there's more than enough evidence to have a special prosecutor appointed, because the FBI can investigate.
That I agree with.
All right? But it is also beyond any reasonable doubt that Peter Strzok, a high-ranking FBI guy who actually wrote the words that Comey read about Hillary Clinton's email in July, hated Trump and wanted Trump to lose. There's no doubt about it from his own emails.
So, I mean, that's definitely
this is
true.
More than enough to go
true.
in and shake this whole thing up.
Right. So I don't think, do you think there's enough of a problem on both sides that we're not that we're looking at a situation like we had with what's his name stuffing the things in his underpants, Sandy Berger, where both sides are kind of like, let's just Sandy, Sandy, I don't know exactly what he was doing.
I don't think he can do that now. I mean, it's just too high profile with Congress all over it, And the Inspector General's report is really going to blow it up. So in March, the Inspector General of the Justice Department is going to issue a report on how the FBI conducted itself looking at the Hillary Clinton emails, and you got to figure that's going to bleed over to Russia collusion. And this guy, Michael Horowitz, I think his name is an honest guy. And I think he's going to drop a megaton bomb, and the reason I think that is because they fired McCabe. 10 days ago, he left the building. Oh, well, I'm going to retire. No. They ushered him out because the new FBI chiefs, I think, got a heads up on the Inspector General's report that's going to be damning against McCabe and Comey.
Are we going
that's where the evidence points. Remember, I'm an evidence-based guy.
Right. So
I don't do the speculation thing.
Well, then that's not helpful to have you on because
true. Talk radio.
Yeah, I mean, it's speculation here. You got to help me out a little bit.
But this is the line I think, Bill, is in that there's enough here to say I want to know what actually happened and who did what. So
Right.
your point here of saying there should be an investigation and we should look into that, I think, is a completely fair one. I feel like the way it's talked about a lot in the media is this is decided, this happened, and I think we need to be careful with that.
Yeah, on both sides. Back in just a second. More with Bill O'Reilly.
Glenn Beck, Mercury. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
We're with Bill O'Reilly, and I want to talk a little bit about Rob Porter. He works at the White House. He's White House staff secretary. He handles all of the papers to the president. There is a big scandal now because apparently he was accused by both of his ex-wives of physical and mental abuse. He had a restraining order on him with his second wife. None of this apparently was known. When it was found out, the White House didn't move immediately. They did put him on didn't they put him on a list and said, if anybody has these accusations, they've got to go. However, Kelly did not execute that in the 2 weeks in between writing and doing. Is that correct, Stu?
He did not get the permanent security clearance, and
Right.
there was several aides apparently that were ruled they were not going to be able to get that. They have a temporary security clearance. And apparently, according to reports today, Kelly had said, if someone can't get the permanent security clearance, we're going to let them go. He had not executed that idea yet, but
Right.
he was going to do it apparently anyway. Whether he thought he could reverse the decision in some way, we don't know.
So, Bill, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Rob Porter?
I don't have any thoughts on him because I don't know what happened. I'm not privy to any of it. I don't trust the press to report accurately on anything in the Trump administration. But it seems strange to me that the FBI, again, we come back to the FBI, it's their job. See, in order to get clearance to work in these jobs at the White House, you have to go through a big FBI check.
Unless you're Van Jones.
And so that they basically are responsible for saying, you can't bring the guy in because he's got A, B, C, D, and E on his sheet, which we verified. So it's hard, and I want to caution. That's the best word. Everybody, all Americans, what you hear reported on the news and reading the newspaper. Right now, it's a 50-50 proposition. Half of it is not true. Half of it's garbage. So you have to go back to the fundamental system. And the FBI is the agency that oversees all security clearances. And I don't know whether the Trump administration defied the FBI's advice. I mean, we're not privy. We don't have that information.
Glenn, would you? Because he came from Orrin Hatch's office, Porter, and he's Mormon.
I didn't know that.
Would there be, because this is now being it's being part of his bio now, that's being sort of promoted. Would there be any record of
yes.
with the church?
Has he been excommunicated? If somebody was accused of spousal abuse, our church is very different, and it does not get involved in, your life in those ways unless abuse, mental or physical abuse or something like that. And we have a church council. If he was a member in good standing, they would have brought a council together and they would have listened to his wife and they would have listened to him on the spiritual matter. Is this happening? Are you using unrighteous dominion? If he was abusing his wife or accused of it, there should have been a council called privately. Mm-hmm. And if he was found guilty of that 2 times, I can't imagine if he's a Mormon in good standing that it wouldn't have been called. They would have excommunicated him. So the question is he a Mormon in good standing? What did the council, was it called? And if so, was he excommunicated? If he was called, they did have hearings on it, and he was not excommunicated, I would believe that maybe that's not the situation, but I don't know. I don't know.
Is that public, all that stuff? I mean, does anybody know what happened?
I think no. You don't. None of the hearing is public. It's between husband and wife and the council, and that's all secret. But you would know if he was excommunicated. That would be public.
That has not come out.
I haven't seen that.
No,
I have not seen that. So if you're Orrin Hatch and you heard those things, I don't know if Orrin did, but if you heard those things, and he went through the church. I mean, the church does not take that lightly. And if you would have gone through that deal, and excommunication means you're done, you have to start from scratch and repair this. It's a big deal. For a Mormon, that's a very big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, let's talk. Let's talk a little bit. I have so many things in front of me here to talk to you about. Let's talk about
on the wall, Beck.
I was going to say
shot on the wall.
I was going to say, let's talk about the wall and the border guard's death.
Okay, I don't know anything about the border guard's death. A man must know his limitations, and I do.
Okay.
The wall is coming, all right? And then the Glenn Beck program is now out front. This is the next big thing because Trump is not going to give in to the dreamers unless he gets funding for the wall. Very simple issue. So my question to everybody in America is this. Why would you oppose building a wall on the southern border? And then you'll get the usual, well, it's an insult to Mexico. It's racist. All right, that's what you get. All right, that's the only argument. So then you say, do you know that in Mexico in 2017 there were more than 25,000 homicides and another 30,000 people unaccounted for? They vanished. They don't know where they are, whatever. I put the number at 50,000 homicides. That's way more than in Afghanistan or Iraq or anywhere else in the world, okay? That you have this out-of-control cartel situation where the drug gangsters are killing people every single day at a level that's so horrifying, but the world doesn't care.
When I was at CNN, I had photographic evidence that they would not allow me to show on air of a bowling alley on our border on the Mexican side where the drug cartels beheaded all of the people that were ratting on them and trying to stop them. They went into a bowling alley and rolled the heads down the bowling alley towards the pins. I had photographs of it. CNN would not let me show them.
There you go. So what you have here is you have a government in Mexico City under President Nieto that cannot control the country. And that's beyond any reasonable doubt. You can't debate it. All right? So the drug cartels control much of Mexico. So therefore, thousands of tons of narcotics come into the United States because that's how the drug cartels make their money. And violence comes into the United States because the drug cartel members don't just stay in Mexico, they come here as well to oversee their business. So the wall is designed to keep some of that out in addition to the people smuggling. We know millions of people have come here illegally through the southern border. Every day we get reports about criminals who have been deported 10 times, yet they come back 11 times. So, you still oppose the wall? Is there an American who still opposes the wall? Here's the crusher. In Israel, they put up a wall, Beck. What happened? What happened after they put up the wall?
The violence went down.
Not just went down, almost non-existent. So that terrorists were infiltrating into Israel. They were killing Israeli citizens at a horrifying rate. Israel built the wall, and that stopped. And you're telling me we shouldn't have a wall on the southern border? See, you have to make your argument so overwhelming, and even the argument that I'm making, I'm a racist. I mean, Jorge Ramos, if you got him on the show and said, listen to O'Reilly's analysis, I didn't know he's a racist. As a racist. You know, it's such crap and such a fraud. And I'm not doing this to defend Donald Trump. If I were in the White House, I'd make the argument, as I just made on your program, to the American people in a press conference. and I destroy the opposition and say, if it is irresponsible not to build the wall. If I don't build a wall, I'm putting you in danger. Indianapolis Colt linebacker, Kate Steinle. Okay? So
Bill.
I've got to do everything as president to protect you. Therefore, I need funding for the wall. And if I get it, then we're going to do a quasi-amnesty on these dreamer people so that everybody's happy. All right? So are you telling me that this is illogical? I mean, I get so angry because the press in the United States is so corrupt. I mean, it's almost as corrupt as the cartels.
So
I think we have a media cartel here.
So who wins in this debate? Because I really, truly believe most Americans are like, stop it. Stop it. We need security on the border. And the people who came here as children because of their parents or they were born here, they're here now. We're not going to deport all of them. We have to watch the border, make sure it's secure, and then also let's just figure out the deal with the dreamers, and I'll give you that, you give me this.
Sure.
That's what people want. Who wins?
I will tell you, if our presentation, our conversation right now, were presented to the American public, 80% of the American public go, yeah, Beck O'Reilly and Stu would actually get some props, even though he hasn't said anything. They're right. They're right, okay? 80% I put the number at.
So who wins in this fight?
I think Trump has to win because he holds the power. I mean, he'll veto any kind of dreamer legislation unless it includes funding for the wall.
But they won't. They don't want the dreamers to. They do not want Donald Trump to give amnesty and a road to citizenship to 2.5 times more people than Barack Obama was suggesting. They do not want it.
Who's they?
The Democratic Party. They don't want it.
Well, I mean, look, their nefarious motives will easily be exposed if they don't cooperate on this. But you can just hammer that party, and they need to win the House in November by saying, are you kidding me? You oppose building a wall, and all the facts that you present about how out of control Mexico is, and the narcotics and the opiates and the drug, and you oppose it, and we can show you that in Israel it worked, and you still oppose it? You could kill him on that because it's not that complicated an issue.
Bill, you have an insight into Donald Trump that we don't have. I mean, you've known him for decades. So is it consistent with the guy that you've known all this time for him to kind of run as a real border hawk, but when he's in office to be the kind of guy who's going to say, we want the security, I'll give you the DACA, I'll give you the amnesty on these people, and sort of make that deal? Is that
this
him?
Is a deal maker.
Yeah, but he has to do the wall because that was his signature issue, and he knows it. That would be like Bush the elder going, read my lips, no new taxes, and then raising taxes. So he has to do it. Trump is smart enough to know that there are a few core things that he cannot compromise on. He has to do, and the wall is one of them.
Does the wall bill give him essentially amnesty on all of the other pledges on the border?
A lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them, because that was, he pledged to cut taxes. He's done it. And now if he can get the wall under construction, those are the two big ones, and he can skate on a lot of the lesser stuff.
Yeah. Bill O'Reilly from BillO'Reilly.com. Thank you, sir. Have a good weekend.
You too. Thanks for having me in, guys. I enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
bye-bye. BillO'Reilly.com. You can watch his show every day online, BillO'Reilly.com.